Hi, welcome back to Christine's Home Affairs. We have a really easy, quick project to do today, and we're going to use up all of our scrap fabric and our scrap stabilizers, like your batting or your parlans or your fleeces, even your interfacing. So we only need little pieces of fabric about this size or this size. Any size at all is going to be okay, as long as you can fold your fabric in three. So what I mean by that is that I have this length, I fold that piece over and that piece, and if it goes into about this size, that's all we need, and the width doesn't matter. So we are going to do, let me show you. These are really cute little pouches. You can use them for coins. You can put some notes in there. If you make it a little bit bigger, you'll be able to put credit cards in there, or even your FPOS card, your credit card. And what else can we put in there? We can put a lipstick in one of the little ones. It's got an endless amount of uses. So that's what we're doing today. I'm going to make a whole batch of these for the shop, because I've got to meet my quota of 2,000, and I figure this is a great way to make some really quick projects, get rid of some scrap fabric. To be honest, I didn't really make much of a dent in the fabric, but there's hope for me. So that's what we're doing today. A really quick little project. Let's get straight to it. All right, this is going to be a scrap buster. So I've gone into my cupboard and just taken out a whole lot of scrappy bits of fabric, and it doesn't matter what size you have either. I'm going to work this project out at fabric that is about 3.5 or 4 inches by 6 to 7 inches, I guess. So they're only really small pieces. So really anything that's around about that size will be enough for the project. So what I'm going to do is take my stabilizers as well. I've got lots of offcuts, and I'm going to iron those onto just some random bits of fabric and make up some sets. So there's no hard and fast rule around the width or the length. This one here, for example, is just under 4 inches by 8 inches. I'll probably go with the 6 inches and use the rest to make a tab for the D-rings or the swivel clips. Oh, those are the same size. I must have used these in another project. So I'm going to fuse a stabilizer to the wrong side of these, and then I'll cut them to size, but I will take off a bit for the tabs. And I've got a swivel clip and a D-ring. So I'm going to make some with swivel clips and some with D-rings, and that way people can put their key ring on there, or they can hang this from their bags. So I don't need the hardware just yet. I'll just cut these. So since these are already the same size, what I'm going to do is cut a section off so that I can make some tabs for the hardware. And depending on the size of your hardware, so this one here is a 1/2 inch D-ring, I want to make sure that the fabric that I cut is 4 times that width. So if this is 1/2 inch, then I need 2 inches of fabric. If I use a swivel clip that is smaller or larger, I'll multiply that by 4. So the first thing I'm doing is cutting 2 inches off this one. That's going to leave me about 6 inches by just over 3 inches or 3.5 inches. Your centimetre measurements will be up on the screen. So these ones, I don't need them as long, but they'll come in handy for tabs on other bits. So all I need to do is fold the fabric in half, bring the raw edge into the centre, and fold that into the centre as well. And then I can sew down both long edges. And I'll do that over at the machine for all of the other pieces. So I'll make sure I keep one piece for each of the fabric pieces that I have stabilizer with. So that's those. These pieces here, we'll find some stabilizer. So I will iron that. And I'm just going to keep on going with all of these pieces and fuse as much fabric as I can be bothered working with. This is going to work well. So those can go under the heat press. And I'm just going to use up all of these. And the fabric on the other side for the lining, I'm going to cut to the same size as this, but I might as well get these ones done first. So I will just roughly cut up some fabric that's around about the same width and length. And they don't even all have to be the same size. So I think I'm just going to put that on there, and I'll trim off anything I don't need later. So this one's just over 5 inches wide, and I'm going to take off a couple of inches for the tab on this. So no real measuring. This one will be a bag that comes up about like this and down like that. Oh, see, these are meant to be. I've fused a whole heap of fabric to the stabilizers. The stabilizer I'm using is a very lightweight fusible fleece. I'm using a product called Parlan. You can use Pallan as well, and if you like, you can just use regular interfacing. We don't need much at all. So these will be the outer fabric pieces, and I need something for the lining. So I'm going to cut my lining out to the same size as the fabric is, and I think I said I was going to work on, say, the smallest being about 3.5 inches by 6 inches, and they can be anything upward of that if you like. And this one is going to be 6 by 3 3/4. So all I'm doing is using up as much of the fabric as I can, and I'm going to square it up. So these are that simple that you really don't need any measurements. And I quite like working this way because it means I don't have to spend a lot of time cutting everything to the same size. Everything can be completely random, and I can use up most of the fabric that I have. So that's the finished size of the fabric for the first piece. I'm going to cut all of the others up exactly the same. So now I have a lining piece and an outer. Maybe I like this better. I can change my mind. So what we want to do is shape the top of our fabric. So if this is a directional fabric, you'll need to be aware of that. And what will happen is that you're going to have the fabric coming up and down like this. So it's probably not a good project for directional fabric. Grab anything you like that will work as a curved edge. Doesn't matter what size you use. This is a 2-inch circle template. And all I'm doing is taking my lining fabric and my outer fabric, and I'll place those with the right sides facing, and I can clip those edges together, and I'll take this to the machine shortly. First I want to find the accompanying fabric for the tabs. I need to stitch down the long length of each of my tab fabric pieces. So for now I'm going to cut up all of these and get all of these prepared so that I can put my tabs in the bags. So you can bear with me a minute while I get a few of these processed. This one is a longer one, but I'm not going to let that deter me. Oops, I need some lining. Can't do much without that. That will work. So you can see there's not much thought going behind any of this. I'm just putting a heap of colours together. So I love making up random batches like this. I can grab my outer layer of fabric and just grab any random piece of fabric to serve as a lining. Most of the time people don't really concern themselves too much with the fabric matching, especially if you don't see much of it. So I can just put anything together. And I love that I don't have to worry about sizing either. Having just random bits of fabric and bags in random sizes, people can choose whatever they like. Once I've cut all the fabric up, all I need to do is mark all the curves, so I can just separate the two pieces of fabric, mark the curve at the top, put the lining behind it, sandwich them together and set them aside. I don't bother with pinning or clipping them. There's no need because I line them up again at the machine. With all of the fabric pieces that I need for the tabs, I don't bother folding them in half over here. I take everything to the machine, fold it as I go over there. It saves a fair bit of time. I'll just start by sewing down one long edge. And coming down the other side. And over at the machine here, all I'll do is fold it in half, just by finger pressing it. This way it goes a lot quicker. And I can keep my production costs down. So I've made up a few of those tab strips, and I can grab this piece of fabric now and one of my swivel clips or a D-ring. I only need about 2 inches or 5 centimetres, so I'll cut this one in half. That will give me 2 inches. And I just then have to decide, do I want D-rings or swivel clips? It really doesn't matter. It'll come down to what the customer wants. So they may want to put all of their keys on that and have their little pouch attached to their keys, or they might like to have these swivel clips attached to the tab and then they can attach it to their bag. They can still attach their keys to this as well. So we've got the curved edge at the top here. What's going to happen is the bag will fold up like this and come down like that, and you need to put the tab into the side. So this is the outer fabric and that's the lining. I'm going to measure 2 inches or 5 centimetres from the top of the lining on the right hand side, right there, and I'll place this just below that mark I've made and clip that together. So as we're sewing, we're going to come up from here. We'll start around about here, stitch all the way around. I'm going to use the edge of my fabric against the edge of my sewing machine foot as my stitching guide. So the foot will run along the edge of that and then along the edge of that mark I've made. This will be my stitching line. I'll come down and around and continue on until I get to about here, and I'll stop with a back stitch. I'll leave that small area for turning through. So I can clip that together and set it aside. And for all of my other ones that I've got prepared, I'll do the same. So this is my lining. I'll mark about 2 inches. Grab the accompanying fabric and put that tab in place as well. So I'll do that over at the machine for all of my little pouches. Let's go do that. Okay, here we go. So I'm just going to sew straight up. As I go around the curved edge, I'll slow down. I'll triple stitch over the tab. And in the corner I like to backstitch. And as I turn, I like to backstitch here as well. And I'll backstitch here. And that's the first one almost ready. And then for all of the others, I will do exactly the same. And I do feel for the metal hardware here, I just want to make sure that it's nowhere near where I'm going to be stitching. Alright, I've made a good start with these bags. Let's just grab a couple of them. All we need to do now is trim the corners. And we do this so that the corners aren't too bulky when we turn the fabric through. If you have pinking shears, you can trim the curves. I have a love-hate relationship with my pinking shears, in that I love to hate them. So you can use pinking shears. I find them very stiff to use, and they're brand new too. I have this pinking blade on my rotary cutter, which is really handy. You can't use it on really thick fabric though, but on layers like this it's nice. And if you want to, all you need to do is clip your curves. And we don't need those corners on there. We can just trim that back. You can trim the edge of your tabs as well if you want, because we have left plenty of seam on this fabric. Then we can turn our fabric the right way out, poke out all the corners and smooth out those curved edges. Okay, so I've turned them all through and I've folded the edge of the opening inside, and I'll just clip those edges together. And all we need to do now is fold them and top stitch them. We do also need to put plastic snaps on, but that'll be at the end. So you don't have to measure this. All we need to do is fold the straight edge up to just past the position of the tab. And we can clip that edge together, keep those openings here clipped together as well, because we're going to sew that closed in the next step. So we can sandwich all of that together. And from here we're going to sew all the way up and around and down again. I like to triple stitch just here, so I'll do that over at the machine. So with all of these, it's just a matter of keeping the side edges clipped together whilst you fold up your fabric. Bring it up just past the edge of the tab. and smooth out the bottom edge there. And that will be ready to fold it over as well. So let's go and sew all of these up. So I've got the opening over on this side. As long as all of those layers are enclosed, everything will be fine. And just make sure this side is nice and even. And that's done. And we can do exactly the same for the rest of them. All right, we are now completely finished in the construction of these little bags. Aren't they so cute? And as I said, you can make them in any different size. So you've got a bigger one like that, these little ones. And all we need to do is put on the little plastic snaps. So it doesn't matter what kind you use. You can use magnetic closures, Velcro strips. I have these little plastic ones, and they're cheap and easy to put in. So all we need to do is fold our little pouch in half, mark a crease there, and that's my center along here, and then I'll fold this down, and with that center crease I'm just going to poke a hole around about here and poke my awl through that to make my hole. I'll bring that back down again, and I'll just line up my awl where I want it. I've got that poked through there, and I'll just poke that through the rest of it. Just the inside layers. And then we can put our snaps on. So the end cap needs to go on from the outside. Pop that through. And I'll grab one of these and pop that on there as well. And squeeze that together. It would help if I had the right tool. So I'll pop that back in and squeeze that together. Much better. And grab the other end cap, and that's going in from the inside. And we'll put the other side on as well. I'm using different colours here because I've run out of all my coloured snaps, so I might as well just use up what I've got. And that's done. So a cute little coin pouch. You can put your lipstick in there, your chapstick. The uses are endless. So once again, all I'm going to do is just fold that in half, mark a crease, and then I'll fold that flap down to the position that I want. You don't have to measure anything here, as long as you find your center. So if I have a look on the inside, I can see the top of the pouch along here. So I've got plenty of room from here to put my snap. I don't want to put it up too high because it will cause the flap to fold up like this. So I'll pop it down here somewhere. If this bag were wider, I would probably put two snaps, one here and one here. But for something this size, you don't need two. Unless, of course, you want to put coins in there and you want to give it a little bit more security. So I'm popping the awl in through here. It's about 1/2 inch or 1.5 centimeters from the bottom, and I'll poke that through that side. If you want to just make a mark in the fabric, you can pop a little spot there, and then you know where you poke the awl through when you're coming through on this side. So I've got a little mark made there, and I'll just come through those layers. And once again, cap on the outside. Doesn't matter which way you put the other bits. And then the cap on the inside. Now you'll notice that I haven't top stitched this edge here. It doesn't really need it. It's only a small project, but if you feel that you want that top stitched, go and do that first before you close up the sides. There, another easy one done. So what did you think of that? I promised you a quick project and I think I delivered. Little tiny purses or pouches, they're going to have so many great uses, whether you put your credit card in there or, as I said earlier, lipstick or chapstick. You can probably even make it a little bit bigger to put an inhaler in there as well. It can be attached to your keys, it can be attached to the side of your bag. It can be attached to your ears if you wanted to carry some bags on your ears, anything you like. Yeah, you could probably actually even attach it to the belt loop keepers on your pants when you're going out. So if you were walking the dog, perhaps you could put some treats in there, some doggy poo bags as well. You can have things hanging all over the place. Great use of scrap fabric. I'm going to put them in the shop. I didn't do a time trial because, well, I just couldn't be bothered. They don't take me long. I mean, I just worked on these this afternoon and it was just scrap fabric. You saw that I didn't take any measurements. I just basically cut the fabric out straight, put the 3 layers together and then stitched it up. So the stitching doesn't take long at all. I want to kind of have the same price for all of these. I think $5 is too cheap. For something of this size, I think $10 is probably too dear. But if you remember my itty bitty bags, they had a zip in though. I used to sell those for $10 and they were only really tiny bags made out of box corner offcuts. I used to sell those for $10, so I'm thinking maybe I might make these $7.50. I might do a bundle offer if you buy 3 for maybe $20, something like that. I haven't quite worked that out yet, but they're definitely going in the shop and they will definitely help me meet my quota to get to that 2,000 products that I need to sew before the end of the year. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and I shall catch you next time. Bye for now.